Welcome back, class. We're on session 9, part 8. Now, our president we're going to talk about today, remember we talked about Richard Nixon. We talked about Gerald Ford. Remember Gerald Ford took over after Nixon was almost arrested. Gerald Ford will be the nomination, will be the Republican nominee to run for office, and he'll be beat out by this guy, Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter's 52 years old. He's a Democrat out of Georgia. The one thing I'm going to tell you up front, guys, I don't get a lot of Jimmy Carter papers. I just really don't. If you look at his policies during the time he is in the presidency, there'll be gas shortages. His foreign policies are at best very weak. He will come up with the SALT II nuclear weapons reduction with Russia. He will basically mishandle the Iran hostage situation that comes in. So both his domestic and his foreign policies, he will have problems. He'll be a one-term guy. He was from the South. The media really originally loved him because he had this really cool Southern drawl, which you guys listen to me. I have that same thing, I guess. He had more so a pronounced Southern drawl than I do. But here's the thing about Jimmy Carter, and the thing I always point out. Remember we talked about some of these presidents really were not moralists. Remember, FDR dies in his girlfriend's house in Warm Springs, Georgia. JFK had numerous affairs, numerous girlfriends. Both FDR and JFK are considered okay presidents, but as far as moralist, good people that you'd want to live next door to you, I don't know if you'd want JFK living next door to you. Good Lord, if you had a daughter in her 20s, you may have to watch her all the time with JFK. Jimmy Carter was a good person, and that's the thing I like to point out. I would not have a problem with Jimmy Carter being my next door neighbor. I think Jimmy Carter has done a lot as far as humanitarian stuff. Jimmy Carter is a good Christian person. Jimmy Carter still teaches Sunday school. Now, Jimmy Carter's had, at the time of I've recorded this, he's had a lot of health issues. The man's actually had brain cancer. He's recovered from that. But he is still out there. In fact, one of the first things he wanted to do when he got out of the hospital for being treated with cancer was to get back to teaching Sunday school. He has done a lot of the humanitarian efforts. He goes out with these different Christian organizations. They build wheelchair ramps. They've done a lot of house building. He is a good person. In Jimmy Carter's heart, he is a fine person. I don't think he was a good president. Now you may disagree with me, and you may write a paper. I've had a paper. I think I've had one or two Jimmy Carter papers, and basically what the students wrote was that he really was a good person. But Jimmy Carter was just not prepared for what was going to go on during his administration. The best thing I'll leave y'all with, guys, there's a show out there called The 70s Show. A lot of y'all have seen that. And the gas shortages and unemployment and all this that goes on in that show, that was under the Jimmy Carter administration. I was a teenager then. I remember I got my first car. I was all excited, but yet I had to ride the school bus every day because you had to wait in line for about 2 hours to get gas, and then it was rationed. You got 5 gallons. Back then, guys, cars had big engines. I had a big old Chevrolet Impala. 5 gallons would get me maybe 3 blocks down the road. So I was on a school bus. But that will happen under the Jimmy Carter administration. Again, good moral person. I don't think he was a good president. And there you go. So we've discussed Jimmy Carter. Now we're going to talk about the guy that will be his predecessor. And this will be a guy a lot different from Jimmy Carter. So hang on, guys, as we go to our next president that will be in section 9, part 9, and we get to meet one of the guys I think is the greatest president of the 20th century. I really like him. So I get to introduce you to him next. We'll see you then. Bye.